DC History, number 1. The Witch of the Enchantress, Earth 1 Saga. 1. Gods, Monsters, and Mortals. Part 1. Mortals 1.2 long before Gotham City, long before the Wayne family, long before the police departments, the criminal empires, and the masked men who would eventually become legends. There were older stories, stories that were never written in newspapers, stories passed from one frightened generation to another, and among those stories was the story of a woman who called herself Enchantress. Her real name has been forgotten. Her birthplace has been forgotten. Even the century in which she was born is uncertain. But the oldest surviving records place her story somewhere in the centuries before the 1800s. She was born in a small village surrounded by forests and mountains. Her mother was a healer. Her father was a hunter. They weren't wealthy. They weren't important. They were simply people trying to survive. As a child, the girl was fascinated by the things her mother couldn't explain. Why certain plants healed wounds. Why some herbs could make people sleep. Why certain symbols were carved into the trees surrounding the village. And why the villagers refused to enter the forest after sunset. Her mother always told her the same thing. There are things in this world that man was never meant to understand. The girl didn't believe her. Not at first. As she grew older, she began studying everything she could find. Medicine, ancient languages, religious texts, legends, folklore. She eventually discovered that many of the stories her mother had dismissed as superstition appeared in ancient texts from completely different civilizations. Different names, different cultures, different centuries, but the same basic stories. Spirits, demons, gods, witches, and something else. Something that appeared repeatedly. A dark figure described only as a witch of destruction. The girl became obsessed. She began searching for the oldest version of the story. Her search eventually led her deep into the forest. There, hidden beneath the roots of an enormous dead tree, she discovered a stone staircase. She descended. At the bottom was a chamber. The walls were covered in symbols. Some were carved into the stone. Others appeared to have been burned into it. In the center of the room stood an ancient altar. And sitting on that altar was a small black book. The girl reached for it. The moment her fingers touched the cover, the candles surrounding the room ignited. She froze. A voice whispered behind her, "At last." She turned. Nobody was there. "Who are you?" The voice answered, "Who you have always been." The girl stepped backward. "What does that mean?" The voice didn't answer. Instead, the book opened by itself. The pages began turning. Faster. Faster. Until they stopped. A single symbol appeared on the page. She recognized it. It was the same symbol she had seen carved into the trees around her village. She reached toward it. The moment she touched the symbol, something entered her. She screamed. The candles went out. When she opened her eyes, she was lying on the stone floor. The book was gone. But something had changed. She could hear things, whispers from rooms away, voices outside, animals moving through the forest. She could see in the dark, and when she became angry, things moved. A cup sitting on a table would suddenly fly across the room. A door would slam shut without anyone touching it. A candle would ignite. She became frightened, but fear eventually turned into curiosity. Then curiosity became experimentation. She began discovering what she could do. She could manipulate objects without touching them. She could create illusions. She could enter people's dreams. She could make people see things that weren't there. And eventually, she learned how to change herself. The first time it happened, she was attacked by several men from a neighboring village. They believed she was practicing witchcraft. They dragged her into the forest. They intended to kill her. One of them raised a torch. The girl looked at the flames, and something inside her answered. The forest suddenly became completely silent. The torch went out. The men froze. The girl's eyes changed. Her voice became deeper. "You wanted a witch." The men backed away. "What are you?" She smiled. "Enchantress." The darkness surrounding her seemed to move. The men ran. Only one made it back to the village. He told everyone what he had seen. A woman standing in the forest. A woman surrounded by darkness. A woman whose voice sounded like two people speaking at once. The village burned her home. Her parents were killed. She returned after the fire. There was nothing left. No family, no home, no reason to stay. So she disappeared. For years, she traveled from place to place. Sometimes she helped people, sometimes she frightened them, sometimes she did things that even she couldn't explain. She began hearing the voice more frequently. It spoke to her when she slept. It spoke to her when she was awake. It told her that she was becoming stronger. It told her that she had barely scratched the surface of what she could do. And eventually, she stopped fighting it. She began calling herself Enchantress. Stories spread. A witch living beyond the edge of civilization. A woman who could appear from nowhere. A woman who could turn night into day. A woman who could make people see their worst nightmares. Some stories claimed she was a demon. Others claimed she was an immortal. Some claimed she had made a deal with the devil. None of them were entirely correct, but none were entirely wrong either, because something was living inside her, something ancient, something that had been waiting for centuries. An enchantress was slowly losing control. Years passed, then decades. Her name changed from village to village. Her appearance changed, but the stories remained. Eventually, she disappeared completely. No grave was ever found. No body was ever discovered. The old records simply stopped. One final manuscript, written by a terrified monk, contained a warning. If the witch returns, do not speak her name. The manuscript was sealed away. The location was forgotten. The centuries continued. Civilizations rose. Civilizations fell. The world changed. And somewhere, hidden away from civilization, an ancient woman remained, waiting, watching, listening to the voice inside her head. She had no idea that centuries later, another woman would eventually discover her. But that woman was not part of this story, not yet. For now, there was only Enchantress, the witch who had existed long before anyone knew the name June Moon. And her story was far from over. End of DC History number 1. Tap DC History number 2, Gotham Town Earth 1 Saga. 1. Gods, Monsters, and Mortals, Part 1, Mortals 1.2. The Batcave is unusually quiet. Bruce Wayne sits at the Bat computer. Several files are open in front of him. Crime reports, photographs, police records, names of criminals, names of assassins. He reaches for another file. Before he can open it, Alfred's voice comes from behind him. Master Bruce. Bruce doesn't look back. Not now, Alfred. I believe I've made myself quite clear. Bruce sighs. I'm fine. You've said that every night this week. I'm working. You've been working for several nights without proper rest. Bruce finally turns around. People are still out there, and they'll still be there after you sleep. Bruce looks at him. Alfred points toward a small stack of old books sitting on the table. I suggest something less strenuous. Bruce looks at the books. History? Precisely. I don't need to read history. Perhaps not. Alfred walks away. But you do need to sit down. Bruce sighs. He picks up the oldest looking book. The cover is worn. Stamped across the front are the words, Wayne Family Archives. Bruce opens it. Inside are copies of old documents collected by generations of the Wayne family. Land records, maps, letters, business documents, old newspaper clippings. Bruce flips through them. Then he stops. A document from the 19th century catches his attention. At the top is an old map. Bruce studies it. The words Gotham Town are written across the map. Bruce raises an eyebrow. Gotham Town. He turns the page. Another document uses the same name. City of Gotham Town. Bruce looks closer. Interesting. He reads the accompanying note. The document explains that during the 19th century, Gotham was commonly referred to as Gotham Town. The name appears throughout several old Wayne family records. Bruce flips through another page. Again, Gotham Town. He finds an even older document. This one describes property surrounding the developing settlement. Again, the same name. Bruce leans back. So, it wasn't always Gotham City. Alfred walks back into the room carrying a cup of coffee. No, sir. Bruce looks at him. You knew? I have read the family archives. Bruce looks back at the document. Why did they call it Gotham Town? Because, according to the records, that was the common name used during that period. Bruce continues reading. Another note explains that as the settlement expanded and became more formally established, the name gradually changed. Eventually, Gotham City. Bruce closes the book halfway. He looks around the Batcave. The modern city above him seems impossibly different from the small 19th century settlement described in the documents. But one thing remained: the name. Gotham. Bruce looks at the old map again. People were already calling it Gotham. Yes, sir. Bruce closes the book. How long ago? Alfred smiles. Long before either of us, Master Bruce. Bruce nods. He looks at the other documents. For once, he doesn't immediately return to the case files. Instead, he continues reading. The history of Gotham, the history of his family, and the history of the city he had sworn to protect. Alfred watches him. Perhaps you can learn something from your ancestors. Bruce looks up. Like what? Alfred smiles. That even Gotham was once young. Bruce looks back at the map. Gotham Town. He quietly repeats the name. Then he turns the page. End of DC history. DC History number 3. The Death of the Waynes Earth 1 Saga. 1. Gods, Monsters, and Mortals, Part 1, Mortals 1.2. The document is old. The paper has yellowed around the edges. The Gotham City seal is stamped across the top. Gotham City Medical Examiner's Office case, Wayne Thomas, Wayne Martha. The report begins with the medical examiner's findings. Thomas Wayne was found deceased at the scene. The cause of death was determined to be multiple gunshot wounds. The report carefully documents each wound, the position of the body, the location of the injuries, the lack of defensive wounds, the blood loss, the time of death. Then comes Martha Wayne's report. Multiple gunshot wounds, severe blood loss, death occurring shortly after the shooting. The medical examiner notes that both victims died at the scene. The report continues with photographs and evidence descriptions. A wallet, a broken pearl necklace, a man's shoe print, spent shell casings, fragments of clothing, and one final note: suspect remains at large. The report doesn't contain the killer's name, only unknown male. The pages turn. A second document is attached, a preliminary autopsy report. Thomas Wayne, Martha Wayne, 2 people who had been alive only hours earlier, 2 people who would never return home, 2 parents who left behind a single child. The report ends with a simple statement: bodies released to Wayne family representatives. The recording stops. The document is closed. We finally see who's been reading it: Bruce Wayne. He's sitting alone in the Batcave. The old medical report rests on the table in front of him. Alfred stands several feet away. He looks at the document, then at Bruce. Master Bruce. Bruce doesn't respond. Where did you get that? Bruce folds the report. The Gotham morgue. Alfred raises an eyebrow. That wasn't my question. Bruce looks at him. I took it. Alfred sighs. Of course you did. Bruce looks back at the report. Alfred walks closer. Why are you reading this? Bruce doesn't answer. Master Bruce, you've spent years trying to move past that night. Bruce looks down. I haven't moved past it. I know. Then you know why I'm reading it. Alfred shakes his head. No, sir, I don't. Bruce finally looks at him. Because maybe I missed something. Alfred's expression changes. Something? Something at the scene. Bruce taps the report. Something in the medical report. He looks at the pages. Something that could tell me why he did it. Bruce pauses. Why he killed them. Alfred looks concerned. Sir, you shouldn't be doing this to yourself. Bruce looks at him. You told me not to go out tonight? Yes. You never said I couldn't work on a case. Alfred sighs. I suppose I didn't. Bruce picks up the report. I need to know. Know what? Everything. Bruce walks toward a section of the Batcave that Alfred rarely sees him enter. A small room, a private collection. Bruce opens the door. Inside is a collection of objects, not trophies, not things he keeps because he is proud of defeating criminals. Evidence, reminders, the original mask and medical equipment recovered from Dr. Death, the medical report connected to Alfred Stryker, pieces of equipment recovered from his first encounter with Firefly, evidence from the Huntress investigation, a piece of material connected to Jacob Packer, evidence recovered from the criminals working for Penguin, a small item connected to the Archer, something from Bronze Tiger, nothing particularly valuable, nothing that would mean anything to anyone else. But Bruce knows exactly what every object means. Alfred looks around. You've kept all of this? Bruce nods. Why? Bruce places the Wayne medical report inside the collection. To remember. Remember what? Bruce looks at the objects. Why I started. He looks at the Dr. Death evidence. Dr. Death. Then the Firefly evidence. The people he hurt. The Huntress evidence. People who thought they could prey on Gotham. The evidence connected to Packer, a man who became a murderer. Then the pieces connected to Penguin's organization, criminals who think the city belongs to them. Bruce looks at the Archers evidence, assassins. Then Bronze Tiger, people willing to kill for money. Alfred watches him. Bruce looks at the Wayne report. But none of these are trophies. He shakes his head. They're reminders. Of what? Bruce looks toward the photograph of Thomas and Martha Wayne. Why I'm doing this? Alfred says nothing. Bruce continues. My parents didn't get to see me grow up. He looks at the report. They didn't get to see who I became. He pauses, and I can't change that. Bruce looks around the room. But I can make sure someone else's child doesn't have to live through what I did. Alfred's expression softens. Master Bruce? I can't bring them back. Bruce closes the cabinet. But I can stop another child from losing their parents. He looks toward the Batcave entrance. Any child in Gotham could end up like me. Bruce looks back at the collection. That can't happen. Alfred nods slowly. And that's why you keep these? Bruce nods. Every case reminds me. Of your parents? Of their legacy. Bruce looks at the medical report one final time. I don't want to become someone who only fights criminals. He closes the cabinet. I want to be the reason a kid gets to go home. Alfred smiles faintly. Then perhaps the collection isn't such a bad idea after all. Bruce looks at him. Maybe. Alfred turns toward the exit. Now, Master Bruce? Bruce raises an eyebrow. You said you weren't going out tonight. I'm not. Excellent. Bruce looks back toward the Bat computer. I'm just going to work. Alfred sighs. Of course you are. Bruce sits down. The lights of the Batcave illuminate the collection behind him. The report of Thomas and Martha Wayne sits beside the evidence of every criminal Bruce has faced so far. Not trophies, not victories, warnings, reminders, and a promise. A promise made by a frightened child on a dark Gotham night that no child should ever have to grow up alone. End of DC History number 3.
You don't
know how to count either, Mom.
You don't know direction?
DC History number 4, Parental Report number 1, Earth 1 Saga. 1. Gods, Monsters, and Mortals, Part 1, Mortals 1.2. The report begins with a formal Gotham City document. At the top of the page, Gotham City Child Services Confidential, Minors Welfare Assessment. Child, Bruce Wayne. Age 8, parents, Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne, deceased. Proposed guardian, Alfred Pennyworth. The first page contains a short description of the situation. Following the deaths of Thomas and Martha Wayne, their only child, Bruce Wayne, was left without his parents. The Wayne family estate was placed under temporary supervision while the courts determined who would become responsible for the boy. The report then turns toward Alfred Pennyworth. Name, Alfred Pennyworth. Occupation, butler and household employee of the Wayne family. Relationship to minor, long-term household caretaker. Residence, Wayne Manor. The investigator's first interview with Alfred is recorded. Mr. Pennyworth, how long have you worked for the Wayne family? Several years. And you intend to remain employed at Wayne Manor? If young Master Bruce remains there, absolutely. Why? Alfred pauses. Because he needs someone. The investigator looks down at the report. Do you consider yourself capable of raising a child? Alfred answers immediately. I've spent a considerable portion of my life caring for others. That isn't the question. I know. Alfred looks toward the investigator. I understand that Mr. Wayne's death changes everything. And Mrs. Wayne's. Yes. Do you believe you can provide Bruce Wayne with a stable home? Alfred takes a breath. I can provide him with a home. And stability? I can try. The investigator writes something down. Mr. Pennyworth, you're not related to Bruce. No. You're not his uncle. No. You're not a blood relative. No. Then why should the court allow you to become his guardian? Alfred looks toward the empty hallway outside the room. Because he has already lost enough. The investigator pauses. Alfred continues. Taking him away from the only home he knows would be cruel. You believe Wayne Manor is the best place for him? I believe familiar surroundings are better than being placed somewhere unfamiliar. And you? If the court permits it, I'll stay. The investigator looks at him. You understand this would be a tremendous responsibility. Yes. You're prepared to take care of his education? Yes. His medical needs? Yes. His emotional needs? Alfred pauses. I'm prepared to do everything I can. The investigator closes the file. Everything? Everything. The report continues. Several references were contacted. Teachers, family acquaintances, employees of Wayne Enterprises, members of the Wayne family staff, all provided similar statements. Alfred Pennyworth had been deeply involved in Bruce Wayne's upbringing before the deaths of Thomas and Martha Wayne. He knew the child's routines, his medical history, his education, his habits, his fears, his interests, and most importantly, Bruce trusted him. The report contains a final psychological assessment. Recommendation: Alfred Pennyworth is considered suitable to serve as the legal guardian of Bruce Wayne. The child should remain at Wayne Manor under Mr. Pennyworth's supervision. No evidence has been found suggesting that Mr. Pennyworth presents a danger to the child. Mr. Pennyworth is considered capable of providing Bruce Wayne with a stable and secure environment. The report ends. The document is closed. We finally see who has been reading it. Bruce Wayne sits in the Batcave. The report rests in his hands. He looks at the final recommendation. Alfred walks past him. Bruce looks up. Alfred. Yes, Master Bruce. You never told me about this. Alfred looks at the document. I didn't think it was particularly interesting. They were deciding whether you could take care of me. Apparently, I passed. Bruce gives him a small smile. Apparently. Alfred turns away. Bruce looks back at the report. He begins thinking about those first months after his parents died. He remembers Alfred being there, always there. But there was something Bruce hadn't understood when he was younger. He hadn't understood how difficult it had been for Alfred to actually obtain legal guardianship of him. The paperwork, the court, the interviews, the questions, the people deciding whether Alfred was capable of raising him. Bruce looks at the report again. He quietly thinks to himself, I never knew how hard it was for him. He looks toward Alfred, but that doesn't matter right now. Bruce closes the report. I've rested long enough. He stands. Gotham is still out there. He walks toward the Bat computer. I'm fine. He pauses. Well, Bruce looks toward the entrance of the Batcave. Fine enough that Alfred doesn't need to worry. Alfred looks over his shoulder. Master Bruce. Bruce stops. Yes? You're not going out again, are you? Bruce looks at him. A brief silence. Eventually. Alfred sighs. I knew you were going to say that. Bruce walks toward the Bat computer. Behind him, the old parental report remains open, the final recommendation still visible. Alfred Pennyworth, approved as guardian. And Saga 1, Gods, Monsters, and Mortals. Part 1, Mortals, Part 1.2, Earth 1 Timeline. Here's the updated timeline with the new stories placed where you specified. Before Hawkman number 1, 1 DC History number 1, The Witch of the Enchantress, covers the ancient origins of Enchantress, takes place before the 19th century. June Moon does not appear. 2 Hawkman number 1, Origins of Hawkman. Hawkman's first encounter with Gentleman Ghost marks the end of the earlier portion of Part 1. Before Batman Gotham's Night, Volume 1, Number 7. 3 Blackgate interviews number 2, Firefly. Dr. Harleen Quinzel interviews Garfield Lynns. Firefly discusses fire as though it is alive. Black Mask's contract eventually reaches him in prison. Garfield later escapes Blackgate. This occurs before Batman Gotham's Night number 7, when Firefly is one of the assassins hunting Batman. Continuing Earth 1 timeline after GCPD report. Volume 2, number 5.2. 4. Green Arrow, Emerald Archer 2, The End of Sound Effects. Green Arrow defeats Onomatopoeia. Oliver discovers that Count Vertigo hired Onomatopoeia to eliminate rival drug dealers. 5. Batman, Gotham's Night, Volume 2, Number 2. Batman confronts Gotham's organized crime families. He crashes the Falcone crime families gathering and delivers his warning to Gotham's elite. 6. Blackgate interviews number 1, Gun Bunny and Gunhawk. Dr. Harleen Quinzel interviews the 2 assassins. 7. Blackgate interviews number 3, Bronze Tiger. Dr. Harleen Quinzel attempts to interview Benjamin Turner. Turner refuses to answer her questions. 8. Blackgate interviews number 4, No Answers. Dr. Leslie Tompkins attempts to interview Bronze Tiger. Turner remains silent. 9. Blackgate interviews number 5. The Batman question, Dr. Hot. Hugo Strange discusses the prisoners and the question of whether Batman is real. Anders Overbeck, Actuary, and William St. James have already been released. The Archer has been transferred to the Metropolis Police Department. Strange refuses to reopen Arkham Asylum. Dr. Crane's Project Shadow is rejected. Weekly therapy checks are approved. 10. Metropolis Police interviews number 1. The Archer. A Metropolis police officer interviews the Archer after his transfer from Gotham. The Archer discusses Batman, but refuses to reveal who hired him. 11. Star City interviews number 1. The Man Who Doesn't Speak. Star City police attempt to interview Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia refuses to speak, making the interview extremely short. 12. Blackgate interviews volume 1.2 number 1. Gun Bunny and Gunhawk. Doctors Harleen Quinzel interviews Gun Bunny and Gunhawk. They discuss their criminal work, Penguin, and their opinions about Batman. 13. Blackgate interviews volume 1.2 number 2. The Releases. Blackgate records the release of various criminals. Penguin's men, Black Mask's men, Red Hood gang members, and Black Skull gang members are released. 14. Blackgate interviews volume 1.23, The Silent Tiger. Dr. Harleen Quinzel attempts to interview Bronze Tiger. Benjamin Turner gives her virtually nothing. 15. Blackgate interviews volume 1.2 number 4. No answers. Dr. Leslie Tompkins makes another attempt to communicate with Bronze Tiger. Turner remains completely silent. 16. DC History number 2, Gotham Town. Bruce reads an old Wayne family document explaining that Gotham was called Gotham Town during the 19th century. 17. DC History number 3, The Death of the Waynes. Bruce reads the medical report concerning Thomas and Martha Wayne. He reflects on why he keeps evidence from his cases as reminders of his mission. 18. DC History number 4, Parental Report number 1. Bruce reads the old report determining whether Alfred Pennyworth was suitable to become his legal guardian. The report confirms Alfred was approved to care for young Bruce. Current endpoint. So the latest point in the Earth 1 timeline is currently DC History number 4, Parental Report number 1. And the sequence immediately leading into it is GCPD Report Volume 2, No. 5.